The snow fell in thick curtains that December evening, blanketing the narrow alleyways of the old district in white silence. 16-year-old Kai clutched his thin jacket closer, his breath forming small clouds in the frigid air, as he hurried home from his shift at the convenience store. The paper bag in his arms contained his dinner, day-old rice balls the manager let him take for half price. He almost didn't see the figure collapsed against the brick wall. At first, Kai thought it was just a pile of discarded clothes, but then he caught the scent. Faint, nearly buried under the smell of snow and garbage, but unmistakable. Alpha. His Omega instincts flickered with wariness, but something else stirred too. Concern. The person was barely conscious, a young man who couldn't have been much older than Kai himself. Dark hair fell across a pale, gaunt face. His clothes, though torn and dirty, looked expensive or had been once. Blood stained his shirt, dark and dried. "Hey!" Kai whispered, kneeling beside him. "Can you hear me?" Dark eyes fluttered open, unfocused and fever-bright. The Alpha tried to speak but only managed a weak sound. Kai's practical mind warred with his heart. He had so little himself. A tiny studio apartment, barely enough money for food, suppressants that kept his Omega nature hidden from the world. Getting involved with a strange Alpha, especially one who looked like he'd been in serious trouble, was foolish. But those eyes— "Come on," Kai said softly, making his decision. He looped the Alpha's arm around his shoulders. "Let's get you somewhere warm." The Alpha's name was Ren, Kai learned on the second day, when the fever finally broke enough for coherent speech. "You shouldn't have helped me," Ren said, his voice rough and low. He lay on Kai's futon, which took up most of the small apartment's floor space. "Dangerous." "Well, I did," Kai replied, wringing out a cool cloth. "And you're not going anywhere until those wounds heal properly." He'd cleaned and bandaged the injuries as best he could. A knife wound in Ren's side, bruises that painted his ribs purple and black. Kai didn't ask what had happened. In this part of the city, some questions were better left unspoken. Ren watched him with those intense dark eyes, something unreadable flickering in their depths. "You're an Omega." It wasn't a question. Kai tensed, his hand instinctively going to the suppressant patch on his neck, hidden beneath his collar. "How did you—" "I can still smell it." Faintly. Ren's expression softened. "Don't worry. Your secret's safe." Over the next day, they fell into a careful rhythm. Kai went to work, returned with what food he could afford, and split it between them. Ren ate reluctantly at first, clearly aware that every bite he took was one less for his rescuer. "Why are you doing this?" Ren asked on the third evening, as Kai handed him a bowl of soup, mostly broth but warm. Kai shrugged, settling cross-legged on the floor beside the futon. "Someone helped me once, when I had nothing. Guess I'm paying it forward." "Just like that? Even though I'm an Alpha?" "You're a person first," Kai said simply. "That matters more." Ren stared at him for a long moment, something shifting behind his eyes, something that looked almost like pain. He reached out, his hand hovering near Kai's face before dropping back to his side. "I'll remember this," Ren said quietly. "Your kindness. I'll remember." On the fourth morning, Kai woke to find Ren sitting up, dressed in his cleaned clothes. The Alpha moved carefully, one hand pressed to his bandaged side, but he was clearly preparing to leave. "You're not ready," Kai started. "I have to go." Ren's voice was firm, but his eyes were soft as they met Kai's. "People are looking for me. If they find me here, they'll hurt you." Kai wanted to argue, but something in Ren's expression stopped him. This wasn't a normal situation. Whatever Ren was involved in, it was serious, maybe deadly. "At least take this." Kai pressed half of his food money into Ren's hand. "For medicine." "Food." "I can't." "You can. You will." Kai closed Ren's fingers around the bills. "Take care of yourself." Ren looked down at their hands, still touching. When he raised his eyes again, they gleamed with something fierce and tender. "What's your name?" "Your full name." "Kai Matsuda." "Kai Matsuda," Ren repeated, as if committing it to memory. "I'm Ren Kuroda, and I swear to you." He caught Kai's hand, bringing it briefly to his lips. The gesture was old-fashioned, almost courtly. I'll repay this debt, no matter how long it takes. You don't owe me anything. I owe you everything. Ren stood, swaying slightly. He caught himself, straightened his shoulders. Wait for me, Kai. I'll come back when I'm someone worthy of your kindness. Before Kai could respond, Ren was gone, disappearing into the gray morning like a shadow. Kai stood in his tiny apartment, hands still tingling from where Ren's lips had brushed his skin, and felt an inexplicable sense of loss. Kai had learned to build a life from scraps and determination. At 31, he owned a small bakery in a better part of the city. It wasn't much, just a corner shop with 6 tables and a display case of pastries, but it was his. Every morning at 4, he arrived to prep the dough. Every evening at 7, he locked up and climbed the stairs to his modest apartment above the shop. He'd given up on suppressants years ago. There was no point hiding what he was when he'd made the choice never to mate, never to let anyone close enough to hurt him. He lived quietly, contentedly alone. He rarely thought about that winter 15 years ago, about fever-bright eyes and whispered promises. The bell above his door chimed. Kai looked up from the croissants he was arranging, ready smile in place. Good afternoon, welcome to. The words died in his throat. The man who entered was tall, dressed in an immaculate black suit that probably cost more than Kai's monthly rent. His dark hair was swept back, revealing a face that was sharper, harder than Kai remembered, but unmistakable. And his scent, no longer weak with fever and pain, rolled through the small shop like thunder. Powerful, commanding, alpha. Kai Matsuda, Ren Kuroda said, and his voice was deeper now, carrying an edge of authority that made Kai's Omega instincts shiver. I've come back. Kai's hands trembled as he set down the tray of croissants. Ren, you remember. Something flickered across Ren's face. Relief, maybe, or satisfaction. He moved further into the shop with the fluid grace of a predator, but his eyes never left Kai's face. I wasn't sure you would. Of course I remember. Kai's voice came out steadier than he felt. What are you doing here? I made you a promise. Ren stopped on the other side of the counter, close enough that Kai could feel the heat of him, smell the expensive cologne that couldn't quite mask his natural scent. I said I'd come back when I was worthy of your kindness. That was 15 years ago. You didn't have to. I kept track of you, Ren interrupted softly. All these years, I knew when you opened this bakery. I knew every time you struggled to make rent, every winter when business slowed down. I wanted to help sooner, but I needed to build something first, to become someone who could protect you properly. Kai's breath caught. What are you saying? Ren reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. He opened it, revealing a ring simple, elegant, with a single dark stone that gleamed like his eyes. I'm saying marry me, Kai. The world seemed to tilt. Kai gripped the counter for support. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. Ren's voice was low, intense. I owe you a debt that can never truly be repaid. You saved my life when you had no reason to. You showed me kindness when the world had shown me nothing but cruelty. Let me spend the rest of my life taking care of you. Ren, I don't even know you anymore. You don't know me. I know you wake at 4 every morning. I know you give day-old pastries to the homeless man who sits outside your shop. I know you visit your elderly neighbor every Sunday to help her with groceries. Ren's eyes were soft despite the intensity in his voice. I know you're still the same kind person who helped a dying stranger in the snow. Kai shook his head, overwhelmed. What are you now? What happened to you? The truth. Ren closed the ring box but didn't put it away. I'm the head of the Kuroda family, what you'd call a mafia boss. The words hung in the air between them. You're a criminal, Kai whispered. I run a criminal organization, yes, but I also protect the neighborhoods under my care. I ensure fair treatment for Omegas in my territory. I don't deal in drugs or human trafficking. Ren's jaw tightened. I'm not a good man, Kai, but I try to be better than I was. And you think I'd marry you? Just like that. No. Ren's voice gentled. I think you'll let me court you properly. Let me prove that I can make you happy. That I can give you the life you deserve. Against his better judgment, Kai agreed to let Ren try. Started small. The next morning, a delivery arrived. Fresh, high-quality baking ingredients. For your business. The note read in elegant handwriting. Not charity. Investment. Then came the customers. A steady stream of well-dressed people who bought generously and tipped better. Kai suspected Ren had sent them, but they seemed to genuinely enjoy the pastries, returning on their own. Ren himself came every afternoon at 3, like clockwork. He'd order coffee and whatever Kai recommended, and sit at the corner table with a laptop, working quietly. He never pushed, never demanded attention. He was just there. A steady, solid presence. You don't have to do this every day, Kai said after a week, setting down Ren's coffee. I know. Ren looked up with a slight smile, rare and transforming. I want to. Why? Because 15 years ago you made sure I wasn't alone. Now I'm returning the favor. Despite himself, Kai felt something warm unfurl in his chest. The first threat came on a Thursday. Kai was closing up when 3 men entered. Their sense marked them as alphas, aggressive, dominant, wrong. Kai's instincts screamed danger. You're Matsuda, the leader said. The Omega who's caught Kuroda's attention. Kai's hand moved toward his phone, but the man was faster, knocking it from his grasp. We have a message for. The door burst open. Ren entered like a storm, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. 2 more men followed him. His subordinates, Kai realized, both powerful alphas who nonetheless deferred to Ren completely. Touch him, Ren said softly, and you'll beg for death before I'm done. The threat in his voice was absolute. The 3 intruders paled, backing toward the door. We didn't know he was. Out. The single word cracked like a whip. They fled. Ren turned to Kai, and the terrifying alpha boss dissolved, replaced by something gentler. Are you hurt? No, Kai's hands were shaking. What was that about? A rival family testing boundaries. It won't happen again. Ren's voice hardened. I'm posting guards. 2 men, discreet, but always watching. Run. I can't live like that. Please. The word was quiet, but it held an edge of desperation. Let me protect you. If something happened to you because of me, I couldn't. He stopped, jaw clenched. Please. Kai saw the fear in those dark eyes, real, raw fear, and understood. This wasn't about possession or control. This was about a debt Ren felt in his bones. A promise that had shaped 15 years of his life. Okay, Kai whispered. Okay. The guards were professional and unobtrusive. Kai barely noticed them after the first few days. But he noticed Ren, how the alpha's shoulders seemed less tense now, how he smiled more freely during his afternoon visits. They began talking, really talking. Ren spoke of the night Kai found him, how he'd been betrayed by his own family, left to die in that alley, how Kai's kindness had been a light in his darkest moment. I crawled back to power, Ren admitted one quiet afternoon. It took years. I had to become harder, colder. But I never forgot the warmth of that tiny apartment. The taste of that soup you shared, even though you barely had enough for yourself. I never thought I'd see you again, Kai confessed. Did you want to? The question hung between them. Kai considered lying, then decided Ren deserved truth. Sometimes I wondered, what happened to you, if you were okay. I thought about you every day. Ren's voice was low, intimate. Every victory, every new territory gained. It was all to build something worthy of you. I'm just a baker, Ren. You're the person who taught me that kindness still exists in this world. That's everything. It happened gradually, then all at once. Kai began looking forward to 3 o'clock, to Ren's arrival. He started making special pastries, testing new recipes on his willing audience of 1. Ren praised everything, but Kai learned to read the subtle differences in his reactions. The slight widening of his eyes for something truly exceptional. The soft sound he made when a flavor surprised him. One evening, Ren stayed to help Kai close up. They worked in comfortable silence, and Kai realized how natural it felt to move around each other in the small space. How perfectly they'd learned each other's rhythms. "Kai," Ren said as they finished, "would you have dinner with me? Somewhere nice." It wasn't their first meal together. They'd shared lunch several times. But this felt different. Formal. A real date. "Yes," Kai heard himself say. Ren's smile was brilliant. Ren took him to a private room in an elegant restaurant, the kind of place Kai had only seen in magazines. But despite the luxury, Ren's attention was entirely on Kai, asking about his dreams for the bakery, his favorite books, his childhood. "I want to know everything," Ren said simply. "I've watched from afar for so long. Now I want to truly know you." "What about you?" Kai asked. "Tell me something real. Something beyond the Mafia boss." Ren was quiet for a moment. "I'm tired," he finally said. "I'm tired of the violence, the constant vigilance. I want—" He met Kai's eyes. "I want a home, a place where I can just be myself. Someone to come back to who sees me as more than a weapon or a leader." "I see you," Kai said softly. "The you who struggled to eat my terrible soup because you didn't want to seem ungrateful. The you who said thank you every single time, even for water." Ren's hand crossed the table, palm up, and offering a question. Kai looked at it, at the scars on those knuckles that told of violence and survival. Then he placed his hand in Ren's. Their fingers interlaced, and Kai felt something slot into place in his chest, like finding a piece of himself he hadn't known was missing. The courting continued for months. Slowly, carefully, Ren showed Kai every part of his life. He introduced him to his lieutenants, loyal men who treated Kai with profound respect. He explained his businesses, both legitimate and otherwise. He hid nothing. "I want you to choose me with full knowledge of who I am," Ren explained. "No illusions, no pretty lies." Kai appreciated the honesty, even when the truth was difficult. He saw how Ren's organization helped Omega rights, how he protected the vulnerable in his territory. But he also saw the violence, the necessary cruelty of Ren's world. "I don't know if I can be part of this," Kai admitted one night. "Then don't be." Ren's voice was firm. "Your bakery stays separate. Your life stays yours. All I ask is that you let me be part of it. Let me come home to you." "Home," Kai repeated softly. "You've been my home since I was 18 years old, lying on your futon in a studio apartment, watching you share your last rice ball with a stranger." Ren cupped Kai's face gently. "Let me finally come home, Kai. Please." Kai's Omega nature had never truly responded to anyone before. He'd thought he might be broken in that way, unable to form the deep bonds others described. But with Ren's hand on his face, that alpha scent surrounding him, he felt something stir. Primal, powerful. "Right." "Yes," he whispered. "Yes." They married in spring, when the cherry blossoms were in full bloom. It was a small ceremony. Kai's few close friends, Ren's inner circle, and the elderly neighbor who'd become like a grandmother to Kai. Unconventional, mixing worlds that shouldn't fit but somehow did. As Ren slid the ring onto Kai's finger, that same ring from his first proposal, Kai thought about the boy he'd been at 16, hungry and alone, who'd made the choice to help a dying stranger in the snow. "I kept my promise," Ren murmured, so only Kai could hear. "I came back." "You did," Kai replied, smiling through tears. "You really did." That night, in the home they'd chosen together, a modest house with a garden, far from both the bakery and Ren's business, Ren held Kai close. "Thank you," Ren whispered against Kai's hair, "for saving me, for waiting, for choosing me." "Thank you for coming back," Kai replied, "for keeping your promise, for being patient." "Always," Ren promised. "For you always." Outside, the cherry blossoms drifted like snow, and inside, two souls who'd found each other in darkness finally rested in the light. The boy who'd shared his last meal with a stranger had saved them both, and the alpha who'd crawled back from death had finally found his way home.